All right, and welcome on my next guest. We've got former Cowboys and Jaguars safety, Mr. Barry Church. Barry, is everything going for you?
It's going great, man. Appreciate you having me on the show. Looking forward to talking some Cowboys, man. Let's get it started.
Absolutely. First question, how was Mexico? I know you're in Mexico.
Oh, yes, it was unbelievable, man. We stayed down in Cabo, which is only like a 2-hour flight here from Dallas. So it was an amazing time, man. I didn't get to golf, so that sucked. But overall, it was a great time. It was a great time.
Did you guys stay in the resort? I know I've heard some of the resorts, they're like, hey, like, you gotta watch out for some of these people outside the resort.
Yeah, so we stayed at the Zadone. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's one of those
No,
Ritz
no.
Carlton spots, but
Okay.
we stayed on the resort pretty much the whole time. We left here and there for a couple bites to
Oh,
eat, but
cool.
overall we just kind of stayed at the resort. And they kind of make you take this they make you take the COVID test before you come back to the States. So we took ours a couple of days before we left, and yeah, and if you get positive, you ain't allowed back. So it's a it's a risk you got to take, but it was a good experience though.
They're gonna say if you get the positive, you got to start that new visa process because you live
This
there
is
now.
true. This is true.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know it was good. The draft. So we're recording this on Tuesday. Drafts on Thursday. Posting this next Monday. So if you know who Jerry Jones is going to take, you can say it now because we won't know till Monday. People won't know.
That's true. My inkling on the whole thing is I think they're gonna take Sertan at 10, but that's just an inkling of mine. I mean, I'm a defensive guy, so I'm a little bit biased towards that. So I think they're gonna take Sertan. He's probably one of the only blue chip prospects on the defensive side of the ball that I see. But we always got to worry because if one of those top offensive dudes slip down, like a Kyle Pitts or one of these good offensive linemen, Jerry's all about selling tickets and about getting that offense right. So that's the only thing that gets me nervous. But hopefully, it's a defensive guy because we know we need it down here.
You're not thinking Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle because they don't have any receivers, man. They never take receivers.
Oh, man, we would be loaded if we took those guys. We already got Cooper, Gallup, CD. I mean, if they took some more, man, I'd be extremely shocked. But you can't do anything past Jerry Jones, man. He does the unpredictable.
Yeah. Were you surprised they took Lamb last year? That one kind of got me by surprise.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, he's definitely, he's a baller. He came in his rookie year and he represented the number 88 extremely well as he was one of our top receivers out there. But I was surprised, man. I was surprised because, as we had these past couple of years, we struggled on the defensive side of the ball. So I thought for sure, we would address that need, maybe on the defensive line, maybe in the linebacker room. But I mean, when they say if that guy's that high on your board and he slips down to you where you can get him, then it's not about scheme. It's more players over scheme. So they went players over scheme with CeeDee Lamb, and it ended up working out for them on the offensive side of the ball. Now we all know defensively. I mean, we were one of the historically worst defenses in the National Football League last year, especially against the run. So and that part hurt us. But overall, I mean, that CeeDee Lamb pick, I think it was a solid pick, and I think he'll just get better and better as time goes on.
You guys, pretty sure you guys against the run, you gave up 3 touchdowns to Antonio Gibson. Was that Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that was Thanksgiving. I mean, he ran through that defense like a hot knife through butter, man. It was just no stopping the kid, man. He's just running through everybody, arm tackles left and right. And that was the second time he did that. Because I mean, he didn't go for 3 touchdowns the first time, but he ran roughshod all over us when we were in Washington earlier in the season. So that just goes to show you how much that defensive side, you need to bolster that up. Because if you can't stop anybody, if you can't stop in the run or the pass and they get to pick your poison on you, you're not going to have a successful team. And we saw that last year. Even if Dak Prescott didn't go down with an injury, that defense wasn't stopping anybody.
Yeah.
We were going to have to outscore everybody on every single game. And that just wasn't going to happen.
Weren't they giving up like 400 yards a game before Dak went down? It was insane.
It was ridiculous. We gave up like 48 passing touchdowns. I mean, it was ridiculous on that defensive side of the ball. I think there was about 5 games where teams had over 300 yards rushing on us. And I mean, you just can't do that because that's basically letting an offense pick their poison against you, run, pass. I mean, if they could do that, like I said earlier, you're not going to stop anybody. And we've seen what happened during this season, one of the worst records we've had since 2015.
Were you surprised they gave Dak the contract now rather than seeing until when finally came back healthy?
I'm not gonna lie, I was surprised. No one just coming back from such a huge, significant injury as that was early in the season. I thought they would let it, maybe go one more year with the franchise to make sure he was coming back healthy and make sure he can be that same guy. But they went ahead and plunged on him. I mean, they gave him 160 mil, and I was surprised personally because I thought it was going to wreck the cap. I thought for sure we gave him that much money. We're not going to have any money left over to help this defensive side of the ball or bring in any free agents. But I guess they worked it out somehow to where his cap number is only like 22 mil this year against the team's overall cap, which left them with a nice little chunk of money to go out there and sign some guys like Keanu Neal and DeMonte KZ. And they were able to bolster the D line a little bit as well. So I was surprised they were able to get that done, but it was just a matter of time before that guy got paid. I mean, he was, since 2016, he was a starter as a rookie, and I was a part of that team, and he kind of just led that team even as a young dude. And there was guys in front of him, veterans like Tony Romo was out there. You got Jason Witten and other guys, but guys kind of just followed Dak's lead ever since he first came in. So he had that leader characteristic about him, and then his on the field play was just astounding, and it just got better and better as the years progressed. So it was only a matter of time before he hit that bankroll. I wish they would have done it maybe 2 years ago, maybe after his second or third year. So I mean, he would have been a lot cheaper. But hey, you wait this long, you gotta pay the piper eventually.
What do you remember about that his rookie year, him coming in that offseason and that preseason?
I'll tell you what, it was, when he first got in, it was kind of like, fourth round guy, he's going to learn the ropes. He may see the field, he may not. But I tell you, it was the game that swung me where I was like, man, if anything happens to Romo, this guy's going to be the truth. It was that the preseason game against the Los Angeles Rams. And Romo, he wasn't playing. It was on like the second preseason game, so starters didn't really play. And so Dak had the opportunity to start and go out there and show what he had. And he ran with the ones. And just to see his just calm, cool, collected composure out there from snap number one until he was out of the game, you just sat there and you were just like, all right, he got it. He got something that other cats don't have. And then lo and behold, Romo gets hurt later on in that season, and Dak's thrust into the lineup. And I don't think anybody, including, the Wittens of the world, the Sean Lees of the world, and nobody thought, oh, this guy can't do it, we're in trouble now. Just because they saw what he could do in that preseason, they saw what he can do all training camp. And they were already had his back going out there. So he was able to do that. And then the rest was history. 2016, 13-3, rookie of the year, and then going on throughout the rest of his career. So, I mean, he just showed a lot of us that preseason and that off season that he could be the guy. And he proved it to us during the regular season.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if my memory serves me correct. Romo got healthy and they kept Dak in.
Yeah, and that was interesting, man. Because that whole season, we figured Romo might have either been out the whole year, or if he did get healthy, he'd be thrust back into the lineup. But as the games went on, I mean, I think Dak went on like an 8 or 9 game winning streak. We were like, I think we were like 8-1 or 9-1 at the time.
They were
rolling. And Romo was getting back to trying to get healthy. And then a week or two before he announced he was healthy, I think Dak, we played over in Pittsburgh, and it was the Steelers versus the Cowboys. It was a great battle back and forth. But then the last couple possessions, you just saw Dak take over the game. And I think that was the game that pretty much swung everybody that, no matter what happens, even if Romo gets back healthy, this is the guy that's going to lead us. And that proved to be it. When Romo came back 2 weeks later saying, let me get a chance to get the job back, or let me get a chance to help this team win. The coaches didn't let it happen. They stuck with Dak. Even the veterans that were in there were just like, hey, this guy got the juice right now, and we got to go ahead and get behind this guy. Tony Romo's always been a great teammate, but it's just how it is. At the end of the day, it's a business, and you got to win games. So when he can't get thrust, when Dak pretty much solidified himself as a starter, it was a little bit of tension. You could feel in the locker room here and there, but overall, I mean, you just knew that this guy was something different, and it was his team from there on out.
Do you think Tony was kind of waiting for like, all right, if he messes up, I can get my chance back? Or do you think he kind of like in his mind, he's like, my time here's done?
I think he thought that at first, like, all right, I can at least get my shot back if something happens, or if the coaching staff just give me a chance. But after a couple games rolling past, it was just, he kind of just realized. And even in his press conference when he retired, he mentioned it like, hey, this is his team now. This is his legacy. He has to take this star going forward. My time has passed. So I think after the first couple of games that he realized, even when he was back healthy, he was like, what, this is his team. I can't even compete with that anymore. And that's was the case. I mean, he went to the broadcast booth, and he's making a killing there now.
Yeah.
So I think it worked out for everybody.
Do you think he has anything left in him that if somebody said, Tony, we want you to come try out, maybe as a backup? Do you think he's got any of that left in him, or do you think he's completely dedicated to broadcast?
Oh, I think he's out of there at broadcast. And they paid that guy so much per year. I think he's like, what? I'm
the max. He got the super max.
Super max. I mean, that's hard to hear of, like a guy that retired and then he gets to the A team like that. Usually they start out low, the B or C team, and then they work their way up. But he went like that. And I mean, he's a talent. He is a talent in the booth. I mean, I love listening to his games, love listening to how he goes about it. So I think he made the right decision. But as far as football, I think those days are long behind him.
And outside of Dax, Zeke last year didn't really have the best year. Are you expecting a much better 2021 from him?
From Zeke, I am. I mean, last year it was a tough time for the whole team. Like I said, with all those injuries, and not only Dak, there was injuries across the offensive line. I mean, you look at Tyron Smith, La'el Collins, Travis Frederick retiring. I mean, that whole unit right there was a big reason of why Zeke was able to be successful those first couple of years. And when you lose all that, and then you throw in a makeshift offensive line like they had, they were mismatching peaches. They had Zach Martin going from guard to tackle. I mean, it was all over the place. Your running back, he's going to suffer because of that. He doesn't, because there's not a unity on that front line that can block for him like he had in the past. So he's going to suffer from that. But he also got to step his game up because, I mean, he had a lot of fumbles last year. I think he had 5 fumbles, which is head scratching for him. He never turns the ball over. And then he was a part of a couple, interceptions where things just bounced off his chest. So he definitely has to step his game up. But along with that offensive line getting healthy, I figure he's going to have a great bounce back year. And this team as a whole should have a great bounce back year.
What do you think Dan Quinn brings to the defense?
I'm hoping and I'm praying that he brings that simple style defense like he had in Seattle down to Dallas. I mean, when these guys were rolling back in 2018, when Jalen Smith and the Wolf Hunter and that defense was flying around, they're under Rod Marinelli's defense. And when I played under his defense, it's very simple. We're in cover 3, we're in man-to-man, or we're in cover 2. You know what we're in, but we're just going to play that much faster because we're not thinking as much that you're just going to have to try to beat us, but we're going to be flying all over the place. And that's what I hope he brings down from that his time in Seattle when he had Earl and Cam Chancellor and those boys. It was a simple defense. There was no like traveling corners here and there. It was just simple. Look, this is what we're in. We're not disguising. See what you got. And I hope he can bring that style to this Dallas defense because last year, no disrespect to Mike Nolan, but he had those guys thinking crazy. I mean, they were just, you just see the gears turning as the play was progressing. There was no communication. It just seemed like cats had no idea what they were doing out there. And it showed in the tape. I mean, like we said earlier, guys were rushing the ball all over the place, passing the ball all over the place. So if we can just dumb down this system, get these guys not to think as much, just go out there, run and hit, and focus on your responsibility, I think he'll get the most out of this defense. And hopefully, I mean, it's got to be better than last year because that was pretty bad last year. And if we want to go anywhere, and have any type of run in the playoffs, we're going to have to have a better defense. So hopefully Dan Quinn can bring that style down to Dallas and we can get the most out of these players.
If they don't go corner, what would be your second preference for the first round pick?
If they don't go corner, I would say, and it's a tough decision, but I would say you got to go Micah Parsons or trade back. Now, I say Micah Parsons because this guy, he's an explosive. He might not be the blue chip like Surtain is, but he is an explosive sideline to sideline linebacker. He has amazing range and he can cover. But the thing about him is we already kind of had that Keanu O'Neal where we got him. He's a safety, but we kind of made him a hybrid linebacker. And I think they would play too similar of a role. Like one would have to be on without the other one having to be on. So I don't know what we would do right there. It's kind of a wasted pick if we picked him up because then we have to waste that $5 million we just had on Keanu O'Neal. So for me, I would have to go Surtain, Parsons, but if we don't get Surtain, I would like to trade back just to kind of get some more picks in the later rounds to kind of bolster the depth we need on this defensive side of the ball. Because if you know last year, our team it's kind of injury riddled. I mean, we are from every level, from defensive line, linebacker to secondary. We had guys missing a bunch of time, and we need more depth back there. We don't have a lot of depth. So for me, if we don't got Surtain, I'm trading back and trying to bolster the depth of the defense.
And I want to talk about your other team, Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously picking first. Who do you think they're going to take? Because everybody else.
Without a doubt,
any doubt in your mind, they take somebody else.
Nah, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, Urban Meyer, he came down there for one reason, and that was to get Trevor Lawrence, man, to kind of bolster that offense or that whole team back up. They got 11 picks this NFL draft, so they're going to try to revamp their whole team. When I was there, I mean, we were loaded on the defensive side of the ball. But from my time there's only one guy left that was a starter on that year, and that's Miles Jack. So they're going to try to revamp this team, and Urban's going to try to make it his own. I mean, we've seen when he was in Florida, he kind of had his own. Then Ohio State brought his own culture there. So I think he's going to try to do the same thing down here in Jacksonville. The only thing that I don't know about Urban is it seems like anytime it's getting a little tough or a little hairy or things aren't going to situation, he kind of bolts out of town. I mean, it happened in Florida, it happened in Ohio State when his teams weren't as good. He was like, all right, I'm done with this right now. So it kind of worries me how committed he is if things aren't going his way. But he has full reign out there. He's basically the head coach and the GM. So we'll see what happens down there in Jacksonville. But I think they made the right hire with Urban Meyer, and hopefully he can revamp this team and get it under his philosophy and under his mold, and we'll see what happens from there.
If Trevor Lawrence pulls an Eli, what do you do?
Oh, that's the thing. That's if he pulls an Eli. I mean, you got a couple other quarterbacks.
You got to tell him now. You got to tell him now. You can't wait till Thursday.
Yeah,
you got to tell him now.
You got to tell him now. I mean, it would be extremely messed up if he was at the last second. You know what? I'm not playing.
By the way, this ain't happening.
This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work for me, guys. I can't let this happen.
That's a no for me. That's a no for me.
That would be extremely disrespectful and off the charts. I mean, he would be a legend for that, but it would be disrespectful. And hopefully he doesn't do that. That's messed up. He got to tell him now, or at the latest Wednesday morning. He can't wait. Can't wait anymore.
No, Minshew would be like, all right, let's go. We're getting back.
You know the stash. You know the stash would be like, hey, I'm back in there. I'm back in the saddle.
It's unbelievable. Who do you think's the best DB in this draft?
To me, it's got to be the guy I mentioned earlier, and that's Surtain. And I say that just, he's kind of a 5 tool or an all around player. I mean, he can do everything. He can play you man to man, press, bump, and run, or he can play zone on you. And what impresses me the most about him is not really his coverage skills, but his willingness to stick his head in there. Most corners, if it comes to one-on-one tackling and they're out there in the open field with the guy, they're going to make a business decision. They're going to, I didn't see him, or I kind of whiffed on that tackle. With this guy, it doesn't matter. He can be in the trenches with linebackers. He can be out there with defensive ends. It doesn't matter. He's setting edges and he's tackling, as well as his cover skills. He has that pedigree because his dad played in the league for a long time. So I think he has the smarts and the IQ to play the position at an extremely, extremely high level. And I just see him as not only being the best corner in this draft, but possibly the best overall defensive player in this draft. He just has it all to me, and I think he would be a great cornerstone piece to the Dallas Cowboys defense and something that you could build upon. I mean, you got him on one side, and you got Trayvon Diggs on the other side, so you got your corners there, and then you just build it from there. And to me, I think he's the perfect candidate to go ahead and get this defense kicked off at the right start.
Are there any Toledo prospects we should be paying attention to this year?
I don't know if they got anybody really big coming out this year. I know they got a decent quarterback out there, but I didn't know if he came out this year. He might be a junior, so I don't think he came out yet. But other than that, I don't think they have any great prospects coming out there. I have to do my homework on that one. But Toledo, the MAC, they're always jetting out guys that can come in here and people doubt them. They doubt them early, but they make the team and they just add depth. And then next thing you know, they're starting and they're killing the game. I mean, look at Antonio Brown. Ben Roethlisberger was a little bit different because he was a first round pick. But I mean, you got cats all over the NFL for the MAC. They represent well.
How did you end up there? I know you're a Pittsburgh guy.
Oh, so it came down to me in the whole college recruiting process. It came down to 3 schools. It was Toledo, Cincinnati, and then West Virginia. And at the time, West Virginia was like number 2 in the nation. They had Pat White and Steve Slayton and those guys. So they were rolling at the time. And when they offered me, I was like, hell yeah, I'm going down to West Virginia. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. But when I went down there and went on my visit, I just had way too much fun. Like I partied my butt off.
At West Virginia? I heard it's all books all the time. There wasn't anything else going on down there.
I mean, maybe it changed, but when I was down there, man, I partied crazy, and I realized like there was no way I was going to graduate. And I mean, I had a great visit and all that, but that was part of my plan of going to college. I have to graduate out of here, and I just felt like there's no way I would have if I'd have went down to West Virginia. And then Cincinnati, they wanted me to play receiver, and there was no way I was taking hits out there. I mean, I took a hit in high school one time. I was like, there's never again will I play offense. And then Toledo. And then when I got to Toledo, the visit was great. It was a family atmosphere. And I knew I was going to have a chance to play early as a freshman. And that was also big to me because I didn't want to sit around and wait to play. I just want to focus on my books and being on the field. And it was a great combination for both of those. They treated me like a brother up there. And I was glad I went to Toledo and ended up working out. Ended up working all right for me.
Yeah. In the MAC, do they just play on any day of the week? Doesn't really matter to them?
It doesn't matter. It's MAC, man. You can catch us on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays. no matter what day it is. If they can get on TV, they're gonna play those MAC games, man.
Who would you put on your all-time MAC Mount Rushmore?
Outside of myself, because I don't want to put myself on there. So outside of myself, all-time MAC legends, I would have to say Antonio Brown, because I played against him over in Central Michigan, and he was a beast. So I'm gonna have to go Antonio Brown. It was a running back out of Buffalo, and he went to Green Bay. I think his name was something James, but this dude was a beast. And I mean, he was like Derrick Henry before Derrick Henry. He was that like big, massive dude. And you're like, how are we supposed to tackle this big defensive end? But he was a beast out of there. Khalil Mack, who was, he's still doing work out there in the NFL. He's still killing the game. And then I'm gonna have to go with Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, he came in, he left. I think he graduated in like 03. I didn't get there till 06. Yeah. But the dude was a legend from just watching his film and just watching how he kind of broke the mold for MAC guys getting drafted. I mean, this is a big kid out of Miami of Ohio. Everybody's thinking, he's a MAC guy. He'll be in the mid rounds, maybe late rounds, but he kind of broke the mold and kind of opened the door for MAC guys to go in the first round. So I'd have to say that's my Mount Rushmore of MAC football players. And I'm sure there'll be some, I got to throw Kareem Hunt. I'll give an honorable mention to Kareem Hunt. Yeah, he went to Toledo. So I'll give an honorable mention to Kareem Hunt. He's still doing big things in the league right now. So those are my Mount Rushmore for the MAC, Mid-American Conference footballs.
Did Toledo had a receiver in the last couple of years? That's pretty good.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson. He's out. He's
Deontay Johnson on the Steelers.
Yeah, he's on the Pittsburgh right now. He's doing big things, man. Him and Ben Roethlisberger got a connection right now, and he's tearing up the league. So he reminds me a lot of Antonio Brown. So that dude's doing big work out there.
Yeah. Were you focused on the NFL while you were at Toledo, or were you just kind of focused on school and graduating?
I was more focused on school because I figured there was no way I was going to get out of the MAC conference and be able to get into the NFL. So I never really had that as a dream. It just ended up coming to fruition. But I was kind of focused on my grades, focused on the broadcasting thing. And I was going to go, if I didn't make it to the league, I was going to go work for Fox Toledo out there as one of their sports columnists. And I just ended up having to make the league and made that my career.
Just ended up having to make the league.
I ended up sliding in there, man. I ended up just barely sliding in there and ended up making that a little career. But overall, man, I was focused more on school, and then football came second. But it ended up working out, where football kind of took over. But I always kept my teachings from what I did in Toledo, and I was able to graduate. And now I'm using those skills at my job now at the Star, where I work for the Cowboys. So it's pretty cool, man. It's a pretty cool circle.
Tell Jane Slater I said what's up. I know she's always busy, but I know she's always there. Tell her I said what's up. She's always busy. Yeah,
she's always busy.
She's always doing something. She's like, I'm always like, Leighton Vander Esch on the podcast. I'm like, all right, no, but how did the Cowboys come into the mix? Who were the kind of teams looking at you, and also were they saying there was a chance you were to get drafted, or did you know you were gonna have to kind of fight for a spot?
I kind of knew. I mean, once you get that label of mid to late round draft, you kind of, all right, there's a big chance I'll probably go undrafted. But I had no idea I was going to go to the Cowboys because a lot of people don't notice, but when you're undrafted, as soon as the draft's over, you get like 10 minutes, like 10 to 15 minutes to pick your team. You'll get a couple calls from teams. Your agent will say, all right, this team likes you, that team likes you, or this team likes you, make your choice. You don't get to do a lot of research and think on it for a long time. You only get about 15 minutes. So as soon as the draft was over, Brent Maxey at the time, which was the Cowboys safeties coach, he gave me a call. Was like, hey, man, look, we loved your tape. We ended up taking another safety ahead of you, but we'd love to have you come down here. Our special teams coach, who was Joe DeCamillis at the time, he loved what you can do special teams wise. And I think that'd be a great opportunity for you. And so I knew getting into the door, I was going to have to be great on special teams. And if the coordinator already liked me, I might as well take a chance. So took my chance, went down to camp, mini camp, OTAs, all that, training camp. I think I barely scraped in as far as making a roster. I think I was like the 52nd or 53rd player that made the roster. Like coaches were telling me, yeah, we had to fight for you to be here. So I never let them down in that regard, but it was a good time. It was a good learning experience. And overall it was great. I mean, it ended up happening, the way it should have, because if I would have been drafted, let's just say I would have got drafted in the late round, went somewhere, probably would have got cut, you know what I mean? So it ended up working that I got to choose where I was going to go, and got to get the most out of my production.
In that 15-minute window, were you waiting on a text from the Steelers?
I did, but it never came, man. Never came. I had met with Mike Tomlin a couple of times at the combine. me being a Pittsburgh dude, I'm thinking, this is it, man. If I'm able to play for the Berg, man, this is going to be legendary. It's going to be. And then the draft went. I think they drafted like a punter or a kicker in the 5th round. I'm just like, man, what? How are these kickers even getting drafted right now over a safety? I was kind of hurt about that, but I never got the call from Pittsburgh. But when I did play against them, we beat them twice, and I had 2 interceptions. So it ended up working out good in the long run.
Who's your second choice for the team that's listening? They'd be like, damn, we could have had him.
It was so it ended up coming down. It was Dallas, the Panthers, and the Jets, who were like I don't know which one should I go. And what made me decide, like I said, to go to Dallas was just simply that the special teams coordinator was like, man, look, we want you down here. I want you down here personally. And we can make this thing work. And once I got that verification, I was like, all right, man, if at least 2 guys got my back in the coaching staff, I got a chance. I got a leg up on most of these guys. So let me go ahead and take my chances. It ended up working out pretty good.
Yeah. And then fast forward to you make the 53. What's next? You're just trying to just prove yourself every time you're out there, or you feel like, all right, they'll see.
No, I had to prove myself because the first game we played was against Washington. So, and I'm thinking, I didn't know the rules. Like, I thought everybody dressed and everybody got if something happened, you would get a chance to play. But they only dressed 46 players. So I wasn't one of those guys. That's what made me think, I'm just the 52nd or 53rd player on the roster because I didn't get to dress that game. And I remember this, and I was like, that's cool. I'll be all right. And I remember the special teams coach was like, no, that's not good. You always want to be dressed, and you never want to be just on the sidelines, because if you're on the sidelines, you're not going to make the team the next couple of games. So I was like, all right, that was the last time I was ever not dressing for a game. I made sure I was made sure I was out there, whether it's on special teams, whatever it is. I made sure I was out there, at least dressed in my pads. Yeah. And so I had to just grind. I had to grind through special teams, kickoff, punt. And that's one of the hardest jobs ever. I think one of the hardest jobs as far as NFL is concerned is being on that kickoff return. Because you got guys running down the field. Looks like they're flying down, big 6'4", 250, 60-pound guys running 4'5", 4'6", running down there just to run you over, and you got to try to stand in front of them and block. It's one of the hardest things to do in the NFL, but I made it work for the first couple of years until I was able to get my opportunity on the defensive side of the ball. Who's
the toughest returner you had to face?
Oh, Devin Hester by far. I mean, I was in there when he was still rolling, and this guy, the way he can set things up. And his speed is, out there. His speed was remarkable. So it looked fast on television, but when you're on the field, it's like a blur out there. And the way he was able to set up his blocks and just return the ball, it was a feat, and it was hard to do every time. You had to you had to hype yourself up, whether you're on punt or kickoff, because at any moment this guy could take something to the house. So you kind of had to always be on your P's and Q's. Yeah. But he was definitely the hardest returner that I ever had to go against.
Because I had Dante Hall on a couple months ago, and I was asking him, like, as the returner, are you like doing that limitless mindset shit where you're just like this? And he goes, "No, you just go." I'm like, all right, you can do that too.
Just go. The instincts take over at that point.
Do you think Cardo is the best in the league today?
Without a doubt, man. That dude. That's what I was gonna say is honorable mention, because he has the vision like Hester, but he's so much bigger and he's like tackling a tight end out there who can run a 4.3. So this dude, like half of the time, he doesn't even have to outrun guys. Guys just don't want to hit him because he's like a brick wall. He's built like Adonis. So this guy's running through walls out there. So he's definitely, I think, the top returner. He has a chance, in my opinion, to break Devin Hester's record. But they're both 2 great returners. They got the instincts, they got everything down, and of course they got the speed to be able to do the job. So it's good to see Cordell still out there making a name for himself as a returner out there, and hopefully he's able to surpass Hester at some point and during his career.
And they got and Fox has got that special feed just for him when I was literally like, this has got to be pre-recorded. Like, how did they know? And he's literally just zig and zagging through everybody, and I'm like, what is going on? We need to see this again. Even if the guy gets tackled, we want to see this again. Where has this been? So yeah, that's unbelievable. So what was it like when you finally made the starting roster?
When I finally made it, it was my 3rd year in the league, and I finally cracked the starting lineup after training camp. I was going against a guy named Rodney Poole, who had just came in on free agency to the Dallas Cowboys as a safety. It was me and him competing for the other starting job opposite of Gerald Sensenbaugh. So during camp, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, all right, man, I got to beat this guy out. So what I did was during the offseason, OTAs, mini camp, I always made sure I was working out with him. I always made sure he was my partner out there. One, just to see, like, all right, let me gauge, make sure I can, gauge my skills against his as I'm going against her. But also it was just like, let me learn a little bit from this guy, because he was, I think, about 4 or 5 years older than me in the league. So I was like, let me learn what I can learn from this guy. He had some productive years while he was at the Jets. So let me learn what I could do. And as we progressed throughout the offseason, I kind of realized to myself, I'm on the same level as him as far as skill is concerned. So I can win this job. I started getting confidence in myself. And then right before training camp, we had this conditioning test. And everybody destroyed the conditioning test, but Rodney ended up failing it. And that's when I was like, all right, it's a wrap now. I got this job now. And then the next day, they ended up cutting Rodney, and I was sewn in as a starter for the first day in training camp. And ever since then, I didn't look back. And I was thrown into the lineup, and I loved every piece of it, because I was around guys who loved the game, and it was a very veteran-led team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, we had, DeMarcus Ware, Anthony Spencer, Sean Lee, Marcus Spears was in there. We got guys on the corner, Terrence Newman and Mike Jenkins. Everybody was out there who had experience playing the game. So when I got thrown in there, it was easy to me, because those guys were all making the calls, and I just had to focus on my job. So I loved it. And unfortunately, at the fourth game of the season, I ended up tearing my Achilles. So I was out for the rest of the year. My first opportunity cracking the starting lineup, and then 4 games in, I tear my Achilles. So that sucked, but it gave me an opportunity to heal and get back and get ready for the next year. And I didn't look back from there. But I just love that being thrown into the starting lineup. I mean, it was a great experience overall.
What was the low point of that recovery process when you were just kind of just like, it was just taking too long?
Man, it was about, so I tore it week 4. I got to about week 15, and I was still in the boot, still in the cast, riding around on the scooter in a facility. And I just see all my boys, my teammates out there each and every day, practicing, coming back, joking, talking. And, everybody says, you're still part of the team. You're still part of the team when you're going through an injury like that, where you're out the whole year. But you can feel it slowly, just kind of, the team kind of drifting away from you as you're not in meetings, you're not in the locker room, you're not having that camaraderie with the team. You're kind of always just in the training room. And it sucks, man. It sucks. And the team was kind of like, they were going places at the time. So it just sucked that I wasn't a part of that, and because of injury. So I mean, that was probably one of the lowest points of the whole rehab process, because I couldn't really get back. It wasn't like I could go out there and run and get back in shape and all that other stuff. I was just stuck in a boot in a cast, and I had to use a scooter to get around. So I was just like, man, this sucks. But once I was out of that boot, once I was able to work out with my teammates again, it all flowed back into the same. So, but it definitely, when the team started floating away from me, it was kind of like, damn, this is a low point. This sucks right now.
Were you able to get back to 100%? Because I know they say Achilles, there's always a little bit of a drop off.
Oh yeah, it was a little. It's just the explosive part. Like I was able to time. I actually timed faster running, but I just feel like the explosive part, like the jump in, the quick twitch, the oh man, I gotta get out of here real quick. That kind of slowed down a little bit. Especially definitely after the first year coming back, you definitely feel it, and then you gradually get somewhat closer back to what you were at the beginning. But you never get back 100%, maybe 95, 94%, but you never get back 100%. You lose that explosiveness just a little bit. But nowadays, I mean, with the technology and everything going on in medicine now, I mean, you got guys tearing ACLs, coming back 8 months later like it's nothing. I mean, it's ridiculous. So with medicine now, who knows? Who knows in the next couple of years, Achilles might be like a high ankle sprain or something.
No, guys like they played like 40 years ago. They'd be like, man, I blew my knee out. That was it for my career. They're like, what? Like, that's 8 months now.
Yeah, that's an 8 month injury. Yeah, but back then it was like, man, you tear that ACL, it's over with. Your career is done. I
gotta go to the mines now. I gotta find.
Yeah, I gotta go to the mines to get it in, man. I'm telling you, sports medicine has come a long way. It's
unreal. And I want to ask you, since he just recently retired, do you have any fun Sean Lee stories?
Oh, that's my dog right there. So I actually know Sean since high school. I've known him since because he was a year ahead of me in high school. He went to Upper St. Clair, Pittsburgh guy as well, and our teams went against each other. So me and Sean, I mean, we've gone way back. And then just to come back together and be drafted the same year, he was second round, I was undrafted, but coming to the same team, I mean, it was amazing. And I tell you this, he's one of, if not the best teammate I've ever had. I mean, he's one of those guys that'll, no matter what's going on, he'll take the shirt off his back. If you're a young guy not understanding the scheme or the defense, he'll take time out of his schedule to come and help you out. I wasn't like that. I was like, hey man, you got to figure this out on your own. I did, but he was the exact opposite, and that's what made him so great and such a great teammate is. Like he sacrificed everything, every snap for the team. I mean, you could see the guy even in training camp how he was laboring, back might have been hurting, joints hurting, but he didn't care. He would give you 100% of whatever he had each and every down, even if it was in just practice, during training camp, whatever it was. And he was one of those guys, that corny saying, first in, last to leave. But he was one of those guys who came in and, I mean, he took the film study, which a lot of players don't do, but he took that film study to heart. I mean, he knew whatever formation was going to be come out from that offense, that he knew the play that was coming off of it. So, I mean, he's one of the smartest players I've ever been around. He wasn't the most athletic by any means, but he was so smart that he always put himself in great positions, no matter what play it was. And he had a great career. 11 years in, it felt like it went like that. Yeah. But he's 11 years in. It sucks that, the injuries took a lot of that time out for him, or I think he would have gone down as one of the, best linebackers in Dallas Cowboys history. It's not the league history. So it sucks about injuries, but overall he had a great career, and we'll see. Maybe he'll get into, coaching. I doubt it. I doubt it, but he might get into coaching, and we'll see though. We'll see.
Well, if he wants to play at all anymore and maybe spite the Cowboys fans, I know Washington needs a second inside linebacker. So we'll see.
You never know. You never know. We see Jason Witten do it.
Yeah, big 180. Do it. And I want to ask you, so why did you decide to sign with Jacksonville?
Well, it came down to one. I looked at their defensive side of the ball, and even though they weren't, historically they weren't a good team, they've always had a good defense. They've always had a top 10 defense. And I looked there and I saw the cats that were playing there. They had Telvin Smith, Miles Jack. They brought in Calais Campbell with me. They brought in AJ Boye. They had the probably the best corner in the league right now, and Jalen Ramsey on the other side. So when I came in there, I was like, man, look, these guys are going to make my job a hell of a lot easier. Yeah. You figure one side of the field is cut off from Boye, one side of the field is cut off from Ramsey. I got a great defensive line. I can get after the quarterback. I mean, I'm going to flourish here. And I ended up doing that. My first year, I had 4 interceptions there, 2 return for TDs. I mean, we were flying all over the place. We ended up going to the AFC Championship. Yeah. I think we had the top ranked defense overall.
Oh yeah,
in the National Football League. So we were rolling at that point, man. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go there, because that defense they were stout. And I knew if I just I could just add a little veteran presence there. I mean, it ended up working out great. And then you also got to throw the money in there. They were the top pursuer for me as far as free agents money is concerned. So I had to go down there for that. But that defense, man, it was lights out. Yeah. It was lights out down there, and it was a great experience.
Pretty sure if you look at like the best defense of the 2010s, I think it was you guys and then Legion of Boom that one year. And I don't think anybody else really stacks up.
Yeah, same here, man. I would say the same. That Legion of Boom, they were tough for a couple of years, man, with Earl and Cam Chancellor and those boys. And then we came in, they called us Sacksonville and the Jackson 5. We were out there, doing what we had to do. So if only we could have did it for more than 1 year, I think we could have maybe surpassed Seattle, but Seattle did it for 2 to 3 years at a time. Yeah. So we did it that 1 year, but if we were able to do it a couple of years, I think we might have been able to surpass them boys.
What was that AFC Championship game like? I was watching the highlights before we jumped on the Zoom. I'm literally like, they got control of the game, and they're like, God damn it, they're playing Tom Brady.
We got Brady. We got Brady in that game, man. It was tough, man, because we had the momentum going, and I think what hurt us was before halftime when they threw the flag on me for knocking Gronkowski out, and which was definitely not an illegal hit, man. I was all shoulder, all in his chest. Whatever, they threw the flag on me. I was pissed, but they did what they did. And then the next play, they threw a deep ball on Boye, and they said it was pass interference when the kid was way out of bounds. So, I mean, those two things hurt us a lot until going into halftime. They were able to score on that last drive. It was 14-10, and with Brady, I mean, that's like a 0-0 with him. And he was able to come out, and what they do best over there in New England is they make adjustments at halftime. And we weren't able to adjust what they were doing. And they picked up what we were doing, and they were able to throw the ball a little bit better in the second half. And like I said, the last 2 minutes, they were able to score, and we were one possession away from going to the Super Bowl. But it just didn't come to fruition, man. And it was tough. But Brady, I mean, he's an ultimate competitor, and I was just glad I was able to share the field with him on that instance.
Is that PI on Gilmore or no? That final play of the game?
Oh, hell yeah, that was PI on Gilmore. Hell yeah, it was, man. I'll tell you what, man. It was we were playing against the Patriots and the refs that day, man. There was so many flags that should have been thrown or weren't thrown. That was just, it was it was impeccable. But it is what it is, and the hats goes out to them. They were able to go out there and beat us. They got beat by Philly the following game, so that was kind of a little condolence for, or a little whatever prize for us. But overall, man, it was a great run.
Was Marcedes Lewis on that team? He was on the Jags. He's been on the
Yeah,
Jags since 1885. He's still every week. Am I the only person? I feel like I'm not the only person every week when I see him out there. I'm like, he's still every week. Marcedes Lewis back on Green Bay.
Still, they re-signed him. I mean, he'll give you about 10 catches, 128 yards, and
he had like 4 touchdowns in a game a couple of years ago.
I was like, what the heck? Marcedes Lewis still play. I think it's year 16. But I tell you what, man, my time in Jacksonville with him, he's one of the most prepared guys out there. He takes it very seriously as far as, keeping his body in great shape, being prepared whenever his job may be called upon to go do what he got to do. So, I mean, I know why he's been able to play for so long, but man, 16 years in the league at that position, man, that's got to be something. Got to be something.
Everybody's talking about, Brady's so old. Brady's been old, man. Marcedes Lewis has been in the league since 1963. I don't know what's going on.
Right. And he's doing in his job. He's getting hit every down. He's out there blocking, hitting 300-pounders. I mean, for him to be able to last that long, I mean, it's remarkable. It's definitely remarkable.
Yeah, because when Kyle Pitts gets into Canton, Marcedes Lewis will be I got 2 years left. We'll be all right.
I'll be back in a couple of years. He's gonna be 80 years old still blocking, man. It's ridiculous.
He's always out there. Like, man, he's gonna be there for when Jordan Love starts. So
no doubt. He might catch Love's first pass, man. Who knows?
Yeah. In your opinion, who thinks has the best defense? Well, we'll go last year because this year we don't know. Who was the best defense in football last year, in your opinion?
Best defense in football last year. That's a tough one. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna have to go with. It's gonna be I'm gonna have to go with Baltimore, man. I'm gonna have to go with Baltimore, and they always have good defenses, but I just feel like last year they clamped up a lot last year, but. Man, that's tough because the Rams had a good one too. So it's like, but I'm gonna have to go Baltimore just because their consistency, man. They do it year in and year out with different pieces. They just plug and play no matter what's going on. And their secondary, I mean, they got Marcus Peters who gambles on a lot of stuff, but he wins more than the times he loses. So I'm gonna have to go with Baltimore. They just got a lot of studs on there on their defensive side of the ball. I don't know if it'll be the same this year. They lost a lot of those studs that they had. So we'll see if they can plug and match and do all that good stuff. But overall, I'm gonna definitely have to say Baltimore. Last year, Rams were good, but I'm gonna have to go Baltimore though.
And then I want to ask you my last question for you. Who's the best safety in football?
As of right now, the best safety in football, I got to go with the cat in Pittsburgh, man, Mika Fitzpatrick. I mean, it's crazy how his career kind of did a 180 because in Miami, he was all right. He was just super athletic. He made a couple plays, but here in Pittsburgh, man, he's dominating, man, and he looks like he's playing the game at a cerebral level where he wasn't doing in Miami because he's you can see he's just predicting wherever the ball's going, he's gonna be there right before it. I mean, it's amazing. He reminds me of Ed Reed a little bit out there in the sense to where he was able to play that middle of the field and he just never knew where he was going to be at the last minute. You just saw a flash, boom, and he got the interception. So he reminds me a lot of Ed Reed in that sense, and he's able to tackle. He's not one of those safeties that's all cover, all interceptions. He's able to go out there and tackle and put his nose in there. So right now, I'm gonna have to say he's the best safety in football, pure safety in football. And I can't see the ceiling for this guy. I mean, it keeps going up and up. So hopefully he's able to continue his great success so far in this league.
You think how much longer do you think Ben's got?
Ben should have been done last year. Ben should have been out of this thing last year.
What else is he gonna do? What else is he gonna do? Sell cars? What else is he gonna do?
That's what I'm saying. So if you still getting that paycheck, you might as well sign it. So
he's paying them. This is like an internship now. He's paying them. Just let me come on Sundays. Just let me in.
Just let me throw these little 5-6 yard passes, man. But he should have been done last year, man. But I think this got to be his last one. This got to be his last year because he doesn't have no arm strength anymore. It kind of looks like how Breeze towards the end and that playoff run, he just couldn't really push it down the field. Yeah. That's why it's similar to Big Ben right now, and I just don't see him being there much longer after this year.
Then I want to ask you, I know you're doing some cool stuff with the Cowboys. How can people check that out and kind of keep up with you?
So I got my podcast with the Cowboys. It's the Players Lounge. During the regular season, it's Monday through Friday, 11:30 to 12:30 on DallasCowboys.com. During the offseason, which is right now, we're just on Fridays, 11:30 to 12:30. Same thing, DallasCowboys.com. And during the season, I do the pre and post game shows for the Cowboys as well. And I got a new television show coming out called Hit Sticks. You got to check it out. We use the Madden platform in the background as we're breaking things down. So got a couple shows with them, and you can check them all out on DallasCowboys.com as we go forward.
What's the wildest fan experience you've had with the Cowboys fans since they're nuts?
There's a lot of them. I mean, there's a lot of crazy experiences, but I mean, man, it's just I can't really come to mind nothing too crazy.
What about Eagles fans? Because I know Eagles fans are from another planet.
No, Eagles fans are wild, man. They tried to fight my granddad one day. I told my granddad,
hold on. Tell that story. Tell that story.
So we're it's an Eagles game. I think it's like 2014 or 2015, one of those years. And my grandparents, they usually come to a lot of the games that are up north because those are the ones they can get to as they live in Pittsburgh. So they made the mistake of wearing my jersey to the Philly game, and I should have warned them. I should have been like, Philly fans, they're crazy. They're really they love their team to a detriment. So they went up there, and as always, Philly, when they give you away tickets, they seat you way at the top. All your family, you basically getting, how to do the flybys for the
witness protection at Lincoln Financial Field.
Yeah, you're at the very tip of the top.
Yes.
So my grandparents are up there. They're barely being able to see me. They got to use the binoculars to see us. So anyways, they're rooting for me going on. Yeah, BJ. They call me BJ. Yeah. And these Philly fans, man, they just weren't having it. I think we were putting it on Philly at that moment. So they were kind of salty about it. And they just weren't having it. So they let my granddad hear it. And my granddad, he's been raised back in, he was born in 1938. So he's been through a lot. And he's like, man, you ain't going to talk to me like that. So yeah, I know my grand. He was like, I don't care how young you are compared to me. You're not going to talk to me like that. So my grandma kind of had to hold him back and like break him up. It was like, hey, do your own thing over there. So my granddad was not having it. I would have loved to see my granddad hook one of those dudes. Just give him a nice little hook. I just would have loved to see it. But man, Philly fans are crazy. So I'm about to say that's one of the craziest situations I was a part of with fans, man. They tried to fight my granddad, who was at the time like 75. So it was wild, man. It was wild.
Now the things people always say, like, what are like the jobs you really don't want to have? I'm like, Eagles Stadium security. Like, God bless them.
Man, every week is somebody getting hit with a hot dog, somebody's getting smacked with a beer can or something.
They used to have the jail there. They used to have the jail.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of the. I mean, every time we left the stadium, people were stumbling around drunk as hell, man. Every time we left the stadium from Philly, man, no matter wins or losses, they throwing stuff at your vehicle, man. It's definitely an interesting stadium when you go up in there.
Yeah. And then how can people find you on social media and keep up with you?
So both Twitter and Instagram is at BerryChurch42. And like I said, that's both Instagram and Twitter. Those are the only social medias I have. So if you see anything on Facebook or anything like that, that's not your boy. So just at BerryChurch42, Twitter and Instagram.
Cool, man. Well, really, really appreciate you taking the time to chat for a few minutes today.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.